Hello, everyone. Welcome to another insightful episode of Explorations of Brilliances, where we delve into the minds of those who are reshaping our world through their remarkable journeys and unique contributions. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Lee, with a PhD in finance. This episode's title is Awaken Your Superpowers with Mas Mike. And you guys can probably see the special banner I have in the background. That's the precious gift I got from Mas Mike while attending Level 3. Today, it's my great honor to have Mike Zeleznick, aka Mas Mike, a figure who has redefined the boundaries of martial arts and personal development. Growing up in Huntsville, Utah, Mas Mike embarked on a journey that would take him from a local martial artist to a world-renowned master of Vibravision. Vibravision is a groundbreaking practice that unlocks human potential in ways you probably have never imagined. Originating from the ancient Indonesian martial art of Merpati Putih, which means white dove, the symbol of peace, Vibravision goes beyond physical training, offering a unique blend of energy work, breath work, and meditation. This practice enables individuals to perceive and interact with the world around them using vibrational energy, even transcending the traditional sensory limitations. Simply imagine that you can detect objects and avoid obstacles with a blindfold on. I have done all of that, and it's truly amazing. Designed not only for martial artists, but for anybody who wants to explore the depth of their mind and body connection, Vibravision promises a journey into the realms of enhanced perception, inner strength, and a heightened consciousness. Whether you are a seasoned practitioner or new to the world of energy practices, Vibravision offers a path to discovering your hidden abilities and then tapping into your inner superhuman powers. As the co-founder and the chief master instructor for North and South America, known not only for his record-breaking feat of shattering 25 iron bars, you should watch that video on YouTube, but also from his warm-hearted, selfless nature. As someone who has personally experienced all three levels of Vibravision immersions, I have witnessed firsthand his incredible ability to uplift and transform lives. His multiple black belts in different martial arts styles are a testament to his dedication and skills. Mas Mike's journey from discovering Merpati Putih to pioneering Vibravision in the West showcases his unwavering commitment to excellence and empowering others. His unique approach of blending ancient wisdom with modern science has profoundly impacted his teaching and the lives of his students, making his story a compelling narrative of innovation, mastery, and a higher consciousness. So, without further ado, let's dive into the fantastic superhuman world of Mas Mike and Vibravision. Master Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Scott. I'm so honored to be here. And anytime I get the opportunity to see you in person or virtually, it's super fun for me. So thanks for showing up for me today, brother. And I can't wait to play.
Awesome. So, Mas Mike, growing up in Huntsville, Utah, could you share with us how your childhood experiences influenced your path towards martial arts? And what specifically propelled you to travel across the Pacific Ocean to learn this unique martial art directly from the royal family in Indonesia?
Wow. First of all, I guess I should say Huntsville, Utah was a very unique place to grow up because the total with three towns combined in this mountain valley had about 3,000 people as the total population. I didn't exactly come from a big city area, and we didn't have a whole lot to do. Basically, we didn't even have a lot of the basic TV stations. We had no video games, and there was not a whole lot to do other than be resourceful and create our own adventures and get in trouble. So as we went through growing up, one of the things that really sticks out to me in my path is I saw a Karate Kid and I saw Star Wars when I was young, and I was like really intrigued and blown away and immediately wanted to get into karate classes and things like that. But what really blew me away from the get-go is I had the chicken pox, and I had like 104, 105 degree fever. I was hallucinating and I was not in my right mind, but I was on the mend. And my mom back in those days, she had to go and rent a VHS VCR. Yeah, I'm that old. Anyway, so she goes and rents a VHS VCR and some VHS cassettes. And one of the movies she got was this mid-80s B ninja movie called Revenge of the Ninja. And I had all the mouth dubbing and "Stop, you dog, I kill you." And all of the special effects are just amazing stuff. And the ninjas jumping off 100-foot buildings and landing in superhero pose and throwing ninja stars 100 yards and hit people in the eye and all kinds of fantastical, magical things. And I was very inspired, even though I wasn't in my right mind. I knew as soon as I healed up, I was jumping off my horse hay barn, and I did. But it didn't go exactly quite like the movies. And I took the leap, but I landed in a big pile of dust and blood and tears and spit and all the things. And I had a really strong impression and experience that movie magic was exactly that. It was movie magic. And that stuff didn't really exist. But luckily, I had another experience. I continued to stay interested in martial arts, and that always intrigued me. But I had another experience when I was about 10 or 12, where I saw a group of traveling Shaolin monks that were going around the country and doing this amazing demonstration. These guys were all like 90 years old. They were like 4 foot tall, and they were so freaking old and dried up, looked like wrinkled raisins. And they did some of the most incredible things with their inner power. One of the things this little old guy takes all these football players, like huge, monstrous guys, and he lines them all up and has them touch their fists like this end, and he touches one of them, and the guy on the other end starts flopping around like a fish. And I was like, what is going on? I was only 10 or 12, but I knew that stuff didn't happen to me in my life every day. So I was very intrigued, and then takes the guy who's closest to him and pushed on him just gently, and the big football player went flying backwards, landed on his butt, and skidded backwards, like left skid marks on the ground with his butt cheeks. And I was just like, what? The guy's like Luke Skywalker, but old. How do I do that? And I was in full attention. But the next thing that they did totally blew me away. I had a lady who came out on the stage. She could barely walk. She was using a walker, and it took her like 5 minutes to get to the center of the stage. And she laid down, and this old monk waved his hand over the top of her leg, and she got up and walked away with nothing and no limp. And I was like, okay, now you've got me for real, because I came from a medical family, and my mom being a nurse, my dad being a first responder, director of the ski patrol and things. I knew exactly what it took to heal people. And this was not that. This was something different. And I saw the magic that healing could create. And so that really started my journey toward finding more about myself, because I could feel things, and I felt things from all kinds, everybody that I came in contact with, but I couldn't really describe what I was feeling, and I couldn't understand it. So it made me feel a lot like an outsider, and I didn't know exactly what to do, because here I was in this country town, and there's not really a whole lot of resource for teachers to be able to do that. So I started a quest to find out more about myself and find people that could teach me. But the only ones that I could find really were like Taoists and monks and yogis, and their path, they said, well, you got to do what I did. You got to go to a cave or a monastery for 35, 40 years. And it's prayer and meditation and purification. And you don't get to have any movies or McDonald's or girls. And that didn't really work for me, because I was just growing up and I liked all those things. So I got involved in American freestyle and full contact martial arts. And by the time I was finished, I had been in the arena for about 9.5 years and been a semi-professional tournament judge, a competitor, and got quite a list of accomplishments through that. I did a lot of different things in the martial arts world, but I couldn't really find any teachers for this particular ability to get those superhuman powers. People talked about it, but nobody could actually demonstrate it. And then I found an ad in a Black Belt magazine that said amazing chi in 2 weeks guaranteed or your money back. It was $50 and had a money back guarantee for $50, and it only takes 2 weeks. Sign me up. So we ordered the course, and it came with basically somebody had pirated and tried to rip off the real system of Merpati Putih in Indonesia and then pass it off to dumb Americans for $50. And it worked. We started training in it, but I had no real guidelines and no safety measures. And this stuff is really powerful. If you don't do it the correct way, it'll have a negative effect. And my brother, he burst a blood vessel in his eye, totally turned completely bloodshot red. He said he could barely see out of it for like 3 days, and we stopped training. But with that course came a video that showed the most incredible demonstrations of chi and inner power. And they were in Indonesia, and I didn't even know where Indonesia was. It was all in Indonesian, and I didn't speak Indonesian. There was one school in particular that was going through and doing everything blindfolded. And as we were watching this, when they were doing like military drills and running and shooting targets and fighting and doing all kinds of stuff, we were both blown away going, holy crap. You saw that stuff in the movies. There's legends about it, but for reals. And the next day, my brother actually was stopped next to the deaf and blind school here in our hometown, or the neighboring hometown of Ogden, and saw a blind lady that had a dog, and the dog did not do quite the right job. And she did a face plant right into the turn signal and fell over right next to the busy traffic. And oh my gosh, ding, this light bulb went on his head. I wonder if they could train blind people. And so that started an odyssey. It literally took us 2.5 weeks of watching the video, trying to understand anything they said because it was all Indonesian. We finally came up with the words, merpati putih, and went to the internet, which was brand new back in those days. You had to go to the university and the library, and there was no pictures. It was all still text. It was all just brand new, and started searching for them. It took another 2 weeks to find them. And then we got a hold of them. And this was like all so back in the day, using fax machines, and email was brand new. And it was quite an adventure to finally contact them and find out that, yeah, we've actually been training Indonesian blind people and subsidized by the government. And we are looking to expand, and we want to come to the US and share this gift. So we basically became their liaisons to introduce them to the deaf and blind community over here and begin the process of helping more people here across the US. But growing up in the small town, it was rough. I mean, literally, we had to find our own forms of entertainment, and we didn't fit in with the local dominant religion. So we were constantly fighting and not fitting in. And all of these things, I guess, kind of combined with divinity or synchronicity, whatever you want to call it, way beyond random chance to inspire us to begin the training. But then that starts kind of a whole nother chapter, and so many magical things that showed up for us and made this even possible. It's like 1 in a million chances that this could possibly align itself. But I guess there's something much greater than us at work here, and it all came together.
Yeah, I believe so. What an incredible journey. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your journey, and how have those moments defined your success and growth?
Well, in retrospect, the whole thing seems like we're always challenged, because our challenge is what promotes our growth. And our growth, really, progress is the source of our joy. And so I would like to say that in one way, if I was to look at it from one side, there have been so many challenges. Nothing has been easy the entire time. It's always pushed us to grow. But through the other side, I would say that is such a blessing, because if we don't go through certain things, we won't develop the talent, skills, and abilities necessary to take the next step. So as we look at those challenges, I mean, just from the very beginning, being on the opposite side of the world, literally Indonesia is exactly the opposite of Utah, not speaking the language. We had so many things that came up along the way, but so many blessings along the way as well. And if I was to really try to put my finger on those, I literally could keep you here for 2 weeks, no doubt, story after story after story. But one of the biggest things, we never thought we'd be allowed to train. We literally came on just to try to spread this message and help blind people. But when we were able to arrange to have the first team come over and introduce them to the deaf and blind school out here, there was another Indonesian man that was waiting for us at the airport. And we had no idea who he was. But it turns out that in the whole US, there's only 3 people that could possibly train us in Vibravision. One was in Washington, D.C. at the embassy. One was in L.A. at the consulate. And one just happened to be living in Salt Lake. And the guys that were in the consulate and the embassy, they literally only taught the health and fitness program. They didn't teach any of the martial art or the power or the Vibravision or anything like that, just the health and fitness. But this gentleman who met us at the airport, turns out that, first of all, he was an ear, nose, and throat surgeon. So he had a very logical mind, and he could make the esoteric or mystical a little bit easier to digest for a keen, analytical, scientific, Western mind. He wanted to move out of Indonesia. He was not only a surgeon who owned hospitals over there, but he also was the chief medical officer for the entire organization for 7 years. And during that time, he was a special forces trainer, and he was best friends with one of the 11th generation royal heirs to the knowledge, one of the great teachers. So he shows up, and we actually were able to begin our training with him about 30 miles from our home. Amazing synchronicities. But The whole purpose was, hey, we want you guys to get a feeling. You're going to be the very first outsiders to ever learn this, but then we want you to be able to know about it so you can open the doors, be the liaison, and help us spread it into the US. Then 9/11 happened. And 9/11 was very scary all around the world, but it really changed the visitor situation here in the US. So they completely closed the borders. Indonesia being the largest Muslim nation in the world, it was really off limits. And once again, if I could just use that as one example of a super bad luck situation becoming such a blessing, we were able to, by force of necessity, then expand and grow ourselves and learn so much more about this art and be able to literally, it was up to us to now build it and share it here in the US. So going through that and doing that, sometimes good luck, bad luck, who knows? Some of the challenges that come up will really actually become the greatest gifts. We just have to keep our minds open and stay tuned, because you never know what's going to happen next.
Wow.
I could seriously go on for 2 more weeks about challenges, but let's just say right from the get-go, this was a difficult path, and with the greatest challenges come the greatest rewards. So I hope that resonates with some of you.
Okay. Mas Mike, can you share some of the key moments that shaped this path further and how you became the chief instructor for North and South America for Vibravision?
Well, on that initial visit, I was originally intrigued not only because I've been in the martial arts and I was looking for that Jedi-like ability, the enlightened master, the mind over matter, the mastery of self, but I was afraid of the dark. So seeing Vibravision was inspiring. But key moments that really, really sunk deep into my spirit and soul and said, you have to stay on this path. I guess probably the first one was when we had that initial group over here all the way back in 1999. And I had a blind gentleman come from across the ocean, a whole other side of the world, and he comes to my house. He brings in his own luggage, goes upstairs, puts everything away, comes back downstairs, makes his own dinner, serves his own coffee, takes it over to the TV and starts watching TV. And I was like, what? Okay. So I started talking to him and I asked him, what is Vibravision like for you? And he told me, well, in Indonesia, there's no help from the government. There's no programs to teach you anything. You're on your own. It's a very dangerous place. And I literally was dependent on my mom for everything for 30 years. But after I learned Vibravision, I was able to ride a bicycle through a crowd of 5,000 people and find her. And I found my mom and then took a Polaroid picture of her and gave it to her. I said, Mom, thank you so much, but I can do it myself now. And I'm free. And that was probably a very pivotal moment for me, because I just went, okay, that's it. I'm all in. When I'm in, I'm all in. This right here is worth committing my life to. This is, if I could make a contribution to this world to try to make it better, what could be better than this? Because being a healer is the highest calling. And when I look at it, for me, when I turn a frown upside down and I'm able to help someone get out of pain and get back in the saddle and start running in the direction of joy again, is more than worth it for me. It's what I'm here to do. But when I considered this situation, being afraid of the dark, and then thinking about right now, wherever we're at, we're probably in our homes, in some place that we already know, but that's even better. If you were to close your eyes and just sit there for 30 seconds, and then imagine that you really had to go to the bathroom super, super bad and try to make it to the bathroom, and how much collisions and injury and how much confusion and how much fear may be involved in that journey. Well, what if you could never open your eyes again? Let's say you're paralyzed. You can still see a sunset. You can still play video games or watch movies or do certain things that we take in so much through our eyes. It adds such a huge piece of our life to our life. And if you weren't able to do that, but then all of a sudden you were in a space that you were in a way free and you could do all of those things, I feel like that would be the biggest thing that I could do. And so I signed on hook, line, and sinker and said, okay, no matter what it takes, I'm going to do this. And a year later, after we'd been training with our trainer, Dr. Haru, for a year, the 11th generation heirs came over to Utah with another team, and we tested for the first school or kolat outside Indonesia and were inaugurated as MPUSA. What an honor, like literally to meet these men that have over 1 million people following that completely changed their country and the dynamic of it, are national heroes and are doing it all in absolute love and not one shred of ego, absolutely playing at the top of the game for mind, body, and spirit, but always in a space of carrying people with them and never looking down on them. It blew me away. And I could go, once again, stories for weeks, but let me just say that when we were tested and inaugurated, and I literally promised on my blood to them that I would help carry this torch, no matter what it took, no matter what happened, no matter what the world threw at us, I was going to help make this light shine into the world and be able to help all of those people that maybe you're trapped in a world of darkness. And the reality is that we're all blind in some way. There's so many blind spots and things that we don't see, and we're just tapping into that. But the passion is to help people that are actually visually handicapped. And we also get to tag along on that because we have so many amazing talent, skills, and abilities and superpowers just hiding along inside of us. So this process of feeling it in my spirit and my soul that I need to do this, and then having the honor to be allowed into this secret, amazing gift, and then literally promising and giving my word that I was going to carry it. Those are probably the top three to say, yeah, these were the pivotal things that really shaped and said, I needed to stay on this path.
In my opinion, you are a true embodiment of what you just shared, these universal principles: love, inner peace. Personally, I've attended all 3 levels of Vibravision immersions. Each immersion is 5 days. And I can say that there's so much, not just the skills we learn from Mas Mike, and also the inner peace. And I love the member promises that every day we would say those member promises together. It just truly gets us connected to the universal love, which is, I think, it's the most fulfilling feeling in the world, at least for me.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope that, number one, I make my parents proud. And I hope that I make all of the royal family proud. And I hope that I make every person that I ever touch proud and happy. I mean, we're here to share light and share joy and shed light in every direction. And thank you. That's a super compliment, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that they have over 1 million members in Indonesia. And I see this happening in the United States as well. I think we're probably going to have 10, 20, 30 million members in the future. I see that coming to reality very soon.
Well, thank you. Our motto for Merpati Putih was do it, feel it, love it. Because if you do it, you will feel it. And if you feel it, you will love it. There's nothing more amazing than feeling your own power and having an abundance so then you can give.
Yes. So, Mas Mike, in your experience, how has Vibravision empowered individuals, particularly in terms of enhancing their inner peace and universal connections with all things in nature?
Well, okay, I'm going to try to keep this one short, but there's so much to say. This literally, and I used to describe it as like Pepto-Bismol, but for life. If you remember the old Pepto-Bismol commercials of take this if you have an upset stomach, nausea, they go through this whole list of different stuff. This is like that. It doesn't matter what you're looking for your own personal balance in life. You get that balancing aspect and so much more. It's like the mind, body, spirit balance really is, it's like a car tire. It's going around, it's cyclical, and it's just going. But when it gets out of balance, it starts going wobble, wobble, wobble. That's where we really feel it. And that's what tunes us into it. And so if I could just like touch on a couple things, because this does like everything and more, but one of the first things that I noticed, because I'm a very high energy person, in case you didn't notice, I got in a lot of trouble as a kid. I was probably the original poster child for ADD or ADHD or OCD or all of those combined. The reality is that I was a very high energy kid. And as I went through and I had a hard time sitting still, having a hard time keeping my focus, doing the different things, this is what I noticed. I already had a lot of experience doing meditation before I tried Empe or Merpati Putih, that we call it Empe for short. In any case, I had a challenge doing all of those meditations because I'm a high energy person. I'd start meditating and the first thing would be like, okay, listen to the silence or focus on nothing. And next thing I have 10,000 things. My monkey mind was running crazy, right, and it's going bing, 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 all over the place. I say, okay, stop. Let me just focus down. Okay, I'm going to get it. All right. I pull together the focus and, oh, I got it. And next thing, I get a wandering itch. If anybody of you has ever experienced that, I have got to itch my eyebrow. It feels so bad. I've got to get this. And then, okay, you itch it, and next thing, oh, now it's on my arm. And then it moves over to my leg. And then goes my butt cheek. And now it's back into my face. And so many things. My body was trying. I mean, literally, the cosmic joker is always at work. And what we look at when we're talking about meditation is really the ability to drop our brainwave frequency and slow it down. But when it's trying to run like a whole herd of wild horses and run away from you, that's when we need it the most. And the challenge is that most systems, and in fact, all systems, don't really incorporate both. The mind and the body are supposed to go together. And that's what I noticed with Empe right away from the very first meditation. It literally was like a rocket ship that took me through the stratosphere beyond anything else that I ever experienced, because it gave my mind something to focus on, which was my body. And 450 years of trial and error, they figured out a lot of things long before there was any ability to measure it other than based on results. And they are getting the incredible results to have the superpower show up in the 3D real world. So we know that it works, but how is it working? This is what I could say as far as the results go. When we put our mind and body together, because they're supposed to go together, and when we do certain things, like the two keys to our life are breathing and moving. And if something doesn't breathe and it doesn't move in some way, then it's not alive. But after 450 years of trial and error, they figured out exactly how to breathe and move in the right way that will align all of the aspects and then be able to get the magic results. And my experience doing that, taking it from a challenging meditation to something that was super easy and fun, it completely changed the game. And when I shared this, we're reconditioning the body from the inside. People literally they heal from the inside, miraculous, crazy healings. They're able to reduce their stress. And the most high-powered business people or stressed out people of all walks of life, they literally find this as like going to a spa kind of a thing, but you completely take care of yourself, but you're doing it from the inside. And it's fun, it's challenging, and it incorporates all of the 6 human needs that we all like to feel, or I should say we search for in our life to find things that are fulfilling. These do all of them. And I literally have seen the most stressed out people, depressed, suicidal, do all the different things that come through this. It changes their biochemistry and changes their thought patterns. And literally in just even one session, they can completely reverse so many of their old patterns of the lens that they were using to look at things through. And once you go through something like that, literally every person that I've ever played with in my life with this has experienced these results. I guess I should say you should try it, because it's something that I can tell you all day about, but until you experience it, it's abstract. It's something that once you experience it, you do it, you will feel it. And if you feel it, you will love it.
Yes, I've experienced all 3 levels so far, compared to for the past 3 to 4 years. I've attended over probably 40 different kind of events, workshops, seminars, and meditation retreats, and all this kind of stuff, and biohacking events. So I would say that the meditation from Vibravision, from the AMPA system, definitely is a totally different animal. Just like Mas Mike, I also move around a lot. I also probably have ADHD, whatever they call it. I want to move and I want to go fast. So with the AMPA meditation, I can drop down very quickly. And also, I just did power maintenance this morning, by the way. For those of you who are listening, who are new to Vibravision and AMPA system, you probably have no idea what power maintenance is. And I would say that if you want to try, instead of the 5 days, you can try this free energy exercise training program. If you are interested, you can go to vibravision.com and then just sign up for the free course. And Mas Mike will teach you how to go through that first energy exercise. A lot of you will be amazed, and then your mind is going to be blown for that.
Thank you. Yes, I definitely would invite everybody to come try it risk-free. Oh, that tastes good. I promise it'll be a new experience for you. Even folks that I've been a Reiki master for 15 years. They do this one exercise and they're just like, what the hell is that? It's fun. You'll have a great time.
So, Mas Mike, how have you blended the ancient practices of Marpati Putti with modern methodologies in Vibravision? And what impact has this had on your teaching and students? The reason I'm asking this question is because there was just so much fun. It's a 5-day event. I still remember that was July of 2020, and when most of the world was shut down, and we went there as a small group of people. I've never had so much fun since I became an adult. So that's how much fun I had at the level one, the first of my level one immersion, because Mas Mike integrated so many modern ways to make the practice not only useful, but also so much fun.
Well, I feel like tradition is very, very important. We never forget where we come from, that honoring source and always knowing who we are is so very important. However, sometimes things need to be adapted to work in the situation. For example, if you are super awesome at using a hammer and you have built some amazing things with that hammer, but then you come over here and you need a screwdriver, the hammer's not going to work for you. Even though a screw and a nail are pretty similar, they do the same function, but one of them does a little different. We just need to update and figure out what is the right tool that we need. And
yes,
going through the traditional method, which, I'm the highest ranking outsider ever outside of Indonesia. We were the first outsiders to ever be allowed to train. And I've been playing at this for a while and giving it my all. And apparently they think I'm pretty good at it. But what I will say is that I've always given my best. And I'm actually the only person that has ever been allowed and given permission to adapt this for the modern world. I literally was adopted into the royal family after living there with them for 6 months and training with all of the top trainers across the country and the special forces trainers and all the different people trying to figure out exactly what it is about Vibravision that works. Because the greatest trainer of Vibravision was one of the 11th generation heirs that was also best friends with our instructor here in Utah, Dr. Harrow. This was one of the great teachers. His name was Mas Budi, and he was better at training people to get Vibravision than anyone else. After he passed away, no one was able to get the same results as him. And so I went to Indonesia to basically try to train with everybody and figure out what was the magic that he had that no one else could duplicate. And I trained with everybody, compiled all the results, and that's where the base platform of what was the same, what's different, what's the common thread, and what are they missing. And then I really tried to look at it like technology. The iPhone that we have in our pocket and whatnot, I saw a comparison on that. If you were to try to build the same computing power in a computer back in, I think, the 70s, it would have been like a whole house and would have cost $6 billion and huge, very expensive. But now everybody carries it around in their pocket. It's a matter of lining up the components, then making them more efficient, and then miniaturizing it. And that's exactly what we're doing for Vibravision, because if this is too difficult to do, people don't want to do it, especially in today's day and age. We literally will have people bring our food to our door. I mean, they'll put it in your fridge. They'll almost chew your food for you these days. And as we get those conveniences, which are amazing, but we also lose some of the tenacity and the skill and the willpower that our forefathers had, because we don't have to walk uphill both ways 6 miles in the snow and go to the bathroom outside in the cold. I don't want to do any of those things ever again. But if we could redirect that energy that they had developed through doing that stuff into being more efficient and creating more innovation, how much farther and faster can we go? I mean, the sky is the limit. And in that space, I went through the traditional training, and I'm a martial artist. Before I even started this, I had spent so much time training military, police, and security people. This was like up my alley, but it was a totally different type of training and like the most challenging, crazy training I've ever experienced in anywhere. I mean, the super soldiers out of Indonesia, the Kopassus, are ranked in the top 5 in the world. The training that they go through is insane. So we don't really want to do that. And the big contribution I wanted to make to this world was to help blind people in particular. So in a nutshell, I had to reverse engineer the whole equation. First of all, the traditional path is that you're going to go through the warrior path and you're going to climb up through the ranks and through the levels. And when you get to a certain point, then you're exposed to the more advanced energetic principles, which are the wizard's path. And now we're going to start putting those together. But in today's day and age, we really had to modify that, because if I started 1,000 people in the warrior's path, only one of them will make it to the point that they can be a wizard path and start on the wizard path. And then, how many of those are going to make it? And it was just challenging. It was safe in a way, but at the same time, not effective in being able to spread the light across the land. So instead, what I really focused on is, okay, we're going to focus just on Vibravision. I shut down the warrior path for the time being. And I said, okay, because of COVID, we can't do this the same way. Let's focus on what our original mission is, which we were doing all of these other programs to support Vibravision and Vibravision to change the world, because we're opening the door for all of the other magic that we all possess. So with that in mind, we're going to start with the wizard's path, and everybody can try to experience this one. And those that want more can self-select into the warrior's path. And that way, only the warriors, and they know they're called to be warriors, are going to go and get those skills, talents, and abilities. But we can still give everyone these abilities. And these are the ones that really, truly make the world a better place. So the idea behind honoring tradition, but also innovating and bringing the new hotness, so to speak, into the kitchen to be able to cook with, is very, very close in my soul and my spirit to watch this, to make sure that it is always shared in the right way with the right heart. I mean, the base martial art, starting with the warrior's path, was released in a time of war. The Indonesian Civil War that was happening in the early and mid 60s, it was hellacious. And the 10th and 11th generation heirs, they released this to bring peace to their people. And we always want to make sure that we're honoring the gift and the source of the gift and doing it in the same way that they would have intended. So in a nutshell, we're going to take all of the magic that's so powerful, we're going to put it into a package that is easily usable by our modern day people, and they're getting the results. And we've done all of the science and all the medical verifying that we're taking woo-woo and turning it into wow, this is real. It affects the 3D world and it's fast and fun. Let's do it. And when we do it, what's going to be next? What are we going to be doing in 10 years? What are our kids going to be doing? I don't know, but I feel like this is definitely a big part of the answer to a lot of our problems that we're facing in this world, because the planet is not going to sustain us forever, and we're needing to make some changes, but they all have to start really in here and becoming more aware of how we're connected. And as we become more connected, more love and more light and more honor back to source can happen. And, that's what I'm really committed to, is making sure that I do this in the right way, that only the right people get it, that want to share it in love and enjoy, make the world a better place. It's all about superheroes, not supervillains.
I think some of the listeners, they probably have no idea what Vibravision is, and this is their first time they're exposed to something like this, talking about how to help blind people to see and have energy practice where they can heal themselves, they can unleash the superhuman power within them. So I think many of them are intrigued right now. Let's say that I am a busy professional. I just heard from my friend that he attended this 5-day immersion event. It was amazing. Can you briefly describe what are the benefits and results that person can get from a 5-day immersion experience with you?
Well, people come to us from all walks of life, and they all have the same results, but specifically for busy professionals, the number one thing to pay attention to here is not just our logic, but also our emotional intelligence and listening to our instincts in business. So 2 different pieces of this that people generally say are completely changed and different in their lives after just attending a 5-day immersion. The first one is their ability for decision making, because now they can really tune in and tap into a higher system of guidance that above and beyond just numbers and spreadsheets, which are super important, but there's also things that hide under the surface, and we can really tune in and tap into those things. So learning how to make decisions that are based on our emotional intelligence, our gut instinct, and having a feeling of, hey, I need to go this way. Super, super important for business professionals. I have a team of folks that are very successful business people, and in 3 months, they made over $250 million worth of business decisions, and were 100% on every single one of them. Even though the numbers didn't look like they were going to work out, they trusted their ability to detect the correct answer, where their path was supposed to go, and 100% they got it. The list just goes on and on and on, literally being able to deal with the challenge of making correct decisions. The second part is being able to keep our center. Usually in a stressful world, that's where high performance happens. It's not in the monastery or on the beach and where you're super relaxed. It's when you're in the fire that you need this the most. And so being able to pop back into yourself, to keep your center, and then to be able to get the 30,000-foot view and make appropriate actions rather than reactions, to be literally at peace, even though, it's kind of like a duck. You're super calm and centered on the top, but underneath, the feet are kicking like crazy, and people are being able to make massive leaps and bounds and progress in their business, in their personal life, in whatever it is that they're applying it to. So at the end of a 5-day immersion, in essence, number one, you're going to have 5 days of learning and growing and connecting the dots through your mind, body, and spirit system. But also, you're going to have more fun than you've ever had. Like literally, I get to take the most stressed out, crazy professionals and turn them back into little kids. They actually create a sandbox that is so fun for them to play in and feel growth that then they can apply to their real life and literally level up every portion of their reality. They're going to feel a massive shift in their energy level and their fitness. Just after 5 days of doing these exercises, you're going to feel like you're in the best shape of your life. It's absolutely fantastic. The mind, the body, and the spirit are all tied together. And that's the cycle. We have to focus on the thing as a whole. And these exercises do it all.
Yes. I can testify that's 100% accurate, guys. I just want you guys to hear directly from Mas Mike what the 5-day immersion is like. And in terms of health benefit, it's incredible that my energy level always increased, I would say at least 10 to 20% after the immersion. And I eat less food during the immersion experience, although it was 10 to 12 hours a day. Some of you like probably, wow, am I going to be able to handle that? Yes, with the energy, with the exercise, you're going to have more than enough energy to handle 12 hours a day, besides so much fun. And you're going to meet so many amazing people and then make so many friends. And that's what I would call the art of fulfillment. That gives you the fulfillment, experiencing life with joy, with fun, with inner peace. That's priceless. Anyways, that's just my testimony for Vibravision. There's tons of them on the YouTube channel. And I recommend you guys to watch and listen to them and then come to join us at the amazing Vibravision world. Mas Mike, as you continue to evolve the practice of Vibravision, how do you balance the loyalty to Marpati Puti's tradition with the need for innovation?
Well, this is a fine line that we've been walking. As I mentioned before, we had to figure out a better way to make it work for the modern world. Being the only person that's been given permission to modify the system it's a big responsibility. I feel a lot of pressure and a lot of weight to make sure that this is shared in the right way. The biggest thing, coming back to the message of being able to share it in love and for the good of all, making sure that we're making superheroes and not super villains is super important to me. But looking at just literally how to do that, after compiling all the information and trying to figure out, okay, what is it exactly that makes these things work? I really was able to look into the system and say, these are the components. If we have the basic components, they arrange in any information transference system like this, and then put those components together in a way and gamify it. And so I put them in a way that they connect together faster, and then made it fun to literally do the thing that makes the magic. And in that way, I was able to take the traditional teachings and say, okay, we're going to take the teachings out of the warrior and the wizard's path and condense them literally in just level 1 immersion. I'm giving you keys and secrets that in the traditional path, you don't learn for 15 or 20 years. If you make it that far, and arranging them at the very beginning so you can start at the finish line and also from the starting line and march from both directions and meet in the middle. And the biggest thing for this, the innovation has got to take place so we can spread the light faster. In order to keep the promise that I have made for the royal family and make sure that we keep this safe and honor their traditions, once again, we're always going to offer this ability to go back into the warrior's path if you're so inclined. You want to learn all of the steps and the bigger energy, bigger power, all of the different things. But we're always point back to source and remember our roots. I literally... As I mentioned, being adopted into the royal family, I work with the 12th generation heir directly. He's my counterpart in Indonesia. We literally are brothers from other mothers on opposite sides of the planet. If you look on Facebook, his profile literally lists me as his brother. And I have been in the process of updating their systems so they can share as well, because Indonesia is an amazing place, but it is a very interesting, I guess I should say, outdated business system as a culture. And in order to join the rest of the world, they needed updating as well. So I'm helping them to join into the rest of the world and give back. And it just keeps going up. We just keep lifting each other up. So the idea here is to make it go faster, make it funner, and always remember where we come from. If we can do those three things, it will keep the cycle going, and we're never going to take away from the traditional system. Instead, we're going to add to the traditional system. We're going to keep some of the traditions to always honor what they're doing on that side. And together, we're going to go through the freaking galaxy and beyond. I hope that's an adequate answer for this question, because I'm not sure exactly how this is all going to play out, but I promised on my blood that I would help share this and I would keep it safe. And I'm going to do both of those things.
So, Mas Mike, looking ahead, in a world with many humanitarian challenges and rising geopolitical conflicts, what is your vision for the future of Vibravision and its role in personal and global transformation?
Wow. I feel like this is a path that's already been laid for us by the royal family of Indonesia in their own country during the Civil War in the mid-60s. They released this information to their people for the good of their people to show them three main things. The first one, they wanted people to be able to empower themselves, to fill themselves up with their own energy and become a self-contained and self-reliant being that is not in a state of scarcity, that is not, willing to step on you to get what they need because they're already full. And in that space of being fulfilled, they could give. The second one was the ability to defend themselves. So the bad guys that are trying to hurt them, they could take care of themselves and not become injured. And that way they would be able to carry this message because they're still in good shape. And the third part was to be able to heal others. So if they did get injured, they could heal themselves and others, and they could keep carrying this light forward and creating more connection, because that connection truly is the root of everything. The Beatles said, all you need is love. But we need to be a little more specific, because love goes in a lot of different directions. It is the absolute truth. But if we can be more precise, we can get an even better result. And so the first part is self-love, learning to love ourselves, and then being able to give to others, because nothing feels better than giving, except for having that love returned. And in that way, I really feel like, how can we bring peace? The basic tenet has got to be to create connection, because the only thing that keeps us in a state of conflict, every dispute, every disagreement, has to do with separation. And how can we bridge that gap? It's really truly by tuning into ourselves, because how can you love someone else if you don't love yourself first? Well, you can't. But then also, how can you hate someone else if you don't know yourself? It really shouldn't happen this way, but this is human nature. And if we can create more self-love, we can create more love for the giving. And in that space, create the connection. And that connection is truly what their target was. If our people could see what we see, that we are all connected, that we're not separate, that when I hurt you, I'm actually hurting me too. Well, that would be a very, very different discussion to have between people that literally see that it's not us and them, it's us. I've always theorized that there's probably only one thing that can really do the full job for everybody. The full job would be aliens showing up and declaring war on us, because the enemy of our enemy is our friend, and a common enemy can draw people together. But what if the enemy is us? If we can just look inside and see that 99.9% of the answers are already here, and we can follow our guidance, because our guidance is always spot on and always do the best for everyone involved, how could we not succeed? And I don't know how I can share this, but I'm willing to share this in the highest integrity and try to give people a window into what they're actually feeling, because we're all just kids walking each other home. And there is more than enough abundance to go around. The biggest key is we need to change our values, and the values always stem from what's going on in here. So if we go differently in here, we'll go differently out here. And I hope that I can create a way that is easily distributed for the masses around the globe. I mean, my ultimate goal is to have this touch at least 1 billion people, and that 1 billion people have the ability to tune in, tap in, and turn on their own inner self and higher self connection. And in that space, realize that we're just a player in this game, that it is actually a game and it's here for fun. I think it was Alan Watts that was quoted as saying, man suffers only because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. And this is such an amazing, amazing, wonderful life. No matter what your circumstances are, there are so many blessings and so many things to be grateful for. Just the ability to do this is a miracle. And when we can tune into our own miracle, it's a lot easier to make miracles out there and give freely. So I don't have any massive plans to take over any world governments, but I am more than willing to share what I have found to be the shortcuts and the cheat codes to getting our true inner connection and being able to create cohesion and connection between all people and all things. And I just want to finish with one last part of this, because we're speaking both universal languages in Vibravision. The two languages that no matter where you go are always the same. First one is math. Numbers. We know that numbers don't lie no matter what side of the earth you're on, no matter where you go in the universe, the numbers are always going to be the same.
Right.
The second is love. Doesn't matter what we look like on the outside, we're all wired the same on the inside. We feel love, we feel pain, we feel joy, we feel sadness, we feel. And that right there is truly the key. Feeling is everything. We make every decision based on our feeling. How does this feel to me? How does this affect me? What's going to happen if we're in a state of fear? We're going to make a different choice than if we're in a state of trust and faith. When we learn Vibravision, we literally tune in and tap into our higher self and that guidance in a totally different way that's scientific. And the top neuroscientist in the world, Dr. Jeffrey Fannin, at the time, he was in our school testing our athletes, and we did a lot of amazing things, but he downloaded this information to me, and you can look it up on Google. There's 100 different answers, but this came directly from the source of the top guy in the field at that time. And he told me that our autonomic nervous system and our total self is literally processing 40 billion bits of information at any one given second. 40 billion. But our conscious mind can only handle 2,000. So I looked at that like a bank account, since I'm thinking in numbers, and money is it's not the root of all evil, but it's that universal language of math that is what causes the discrepancy, because people are not feeling like they're in abundance. Well, if I was a bank account and I had a choice of having 40 billion in it or 2,000, I think which way I would go. If I had the 40 billion, I would have a lot more to give. And in our awareness, our consciousness, and who we are as people, when you have a 40 billion bank account and you have access to it, you can do a heck of a lot more. And this is really a process of opening that connection and remembering who we are.
Thank you for that beautiful message you just shared with us. I feel like this is something should be broadcasted in the morning news 24/7, and should also be shared and watched at the United Nations and also around the world, because what Mas Mike shared is so true. The inner peace, the self-love, our connection with the universal intelligence and all things around us. And when we see another being, whether it's a human being or plants and animals, and then I'm speaking from a personal perspective, we are all from the one source. I also believe that Vibravision is going to play a key role in personal and global transformation to lead us to peace and unity. I think most humans on this planet are longing for the peace and unity, because I think we have had enough conflicts. Mas Mike, how does the principle of serving humanities with peace and justice manifest in your work with Vibravision and MPay USA?
Well, the first thing I would encourage here is that peace is a state that is required in order to do Vibravision. In the traditional path, The exercises are very, very challenging. And in that challenge, we literally attain a state of peace that is so far above and beyond anything that I have ever experienced before. It literally takes the guesswork and the game of trying out of the equation. You do these exercises and you literally have no choice but to find this sense of peace because of the thing that you're doing. It takes everything you've got just to do it. And in that space of everything you've got, there's no time for taxes or kids or work or this or that or whatever. You literally integrate both hemispheres of the brain. You drop the brainwave frequencies immediately, and we're able to catapult back up into gamma consciousness and hyper consciousness, and being able to access those 40 billion bits of information that are constantly streaming in. With that in mind, the process of doing it looks a little bit like that, but the actual mission of doing it, the first of our member promises, is to seek and define inner peace and our universal connection to all things in nature. And what that really means here, first of all, we have to be aligned here and here. Peace is in our heart and in our head. If we can turn off the monkey mind and turn off all of that noise, we can actually tune in and tap in here. We can align these two. We create heart-brain coherence at unprecedented speed. It's incredible and how powerful it is. But at that point, we can really start looking for the thread that binds us all, that connects all of us. And that thread through all physical matter. Once you get a hold of it, you can start pulling it, and you can start manifesting and changing your reality. And in that space, when people find their own power, they don't need to be saved. What they really need is knowledge of and access to their own power. And once they have that, then the game is really on, because, like I said, it is a game. And as we tune in and tap into what connects us and what binds us, and that thread, and we start pulling it, humanity as a whole starts to blossom and evolve. And I would like to just reference something here real fast. There was a movie that came out a short time ago that is absolutely fantastic. It's called The Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar. And as one of my favorite actors in it, who is Dr. Strange, and Benedict Cumberbatch is so talented. They did an amazing job on this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's on Amazon Prime or Netflix, one of those two. It's like 35 minutes long, and it's an amazing story. And just here's the premise of it. This gentleman learns this technique through kind of a shady way, but he learns this technique from a yogi master, and he spends I think it was 8 years or something practicing it every single day. So he can read cards. He has Vibravision, but he can read cards when they're upside down. So then he goes to the casino. This is his whole thing. His mission is, I'm going to practice this every day until I get it. And he figures out and he systematizes, he does all the things so he can go beat the casino and become the richest man ever alive and make so much money and have so much glory. But through that process of going through 8 years and doing all of this thing, he really gets in touch with himself on the inside. And he accomplishes his mission, goes to the first casino ever as his test. Can I really do this? He wins more money in an hour than he can possibly, okay, I got to get out of here. The next day, he rolls out of bed and he doesn't want the money. He literally goes onto the balcony and starts throwing it to the people underneath, because the thing that he had set as his target, the destination, was not the magic. The magic was who he had become along the journey. And he literally spent the rest of his life, and this is based on a true story, he literally spent the rest of his life going and doing exactly that and winning tons of money from the casinos, but then all in secret, setting up children's hospitals and orphanages.
Wow.
He didn't keep any of the money. He gave it all away. And when I look at that, this idea of creating more humanity and what we can really do with that, that's what it really comes down to. Becoming so abundant in here that it's easy to give. And that's right in our first member promise, to seek and to find inner peace and our universal connection to all things in nature. And that's just the starting point, but I hope that's a good starting point.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. Thank you, Mas Mike. I would love to do that too. Mas Mike, as I mentioned a couple of times, I've attended all 3 levels of emergence. Each one of them is a 5-day full-blown event. Could you please briefly describe what participants would experience at these emergence?
It's a lot. I guess that's the best thing that I could say here. Learning how to condense decades into days. It's different than any other event that I've ever attended. And I've attended a lot of different events and really been a searcher for my own improvement and all the things that I know that I don't know. What a great sandbox and a short time to play in it. That's what life is for, is for learning. And in order to break this up, I actually tried to chunk it up into easily digestible things, which the first level is based on the premise of where is it? In the first level, we're really focused on locating things and having direction of where things are. In the second level, it's what is it? And that has to do more with advanced shapes and multiple colors and different obstacles and all beginnings for movement. But the third aspect is what is it doing? And this is the same process that we go through in every instinctual reflexive thing that we do in our life. Let's say, for example, you're walking down the driveway and it's dark, something rustles in the bushes and, oh my gosh, what is that? The first thing we do is we automatically locate it and say, where is this thing? The second thing we do is we say, what is this thing? Is it a mouse or is it a moose? And the third thing we do is say, what is it doing? Is it headed toward me or is it running away? So I based all of these levels in a way that we could model our own natural pattern. And our own natural pattern is unbeatable because we've been practicing it since day one that we hit this planet. You cannot fight your reflexes. They are always going to show up for you. So in a level 1 immersion, right now there are 5 days. And in a nutshell, we start at 10 in the morning and we finish at 8, 9, sometimes 9:30 at night. It really depends on the group and how much fun we're having. Literally, it's so hard to just get out of the building because it's the greatest sandbox that's ever been created and we play hard. I literally have been to so many events in the self-development space that are, hey, we're going to give you 2 or 3 things and a whole lot of rah-rah and excitement. And that's important, but that's not what we do. What we do is I'm going to throw everything at you, the whole bowl of spaghetti. It's going to get thrown at you, and we're going to see what sticks to your wall because it is a technology. And we know that just like any piece of technology, if we push the right buttons in the right sequence, the right thing will happen. And you can go to the App Store and you can get anything that you want. But you've got to push those buttons in the right sequence. And I've structured every single day to go through the steps to do those things and to have as much fun as possible. So we literally are in the classroom, in the exercise area, building energy, implementing it, changing our brainwaves with the new meditation step by step by step. And then we go to play. So it's literally you unlock a new skill like a video game, you go and you use it. And then you unlock the next skill and then you go and you use it. And then you unlock the next skill and you go and use it. You will not stop for 5 days. It is a full tilt boogie. So I literally would say buckle up and hold on to your behind because we make light speed look slow and it's a full tilt boogie event. And I can't wait to see everybody and how fast you can go.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And I hope all of you experience that. For those who inspired by your journey and eager to explore Vibravision, what insights and advice would you offer to them?
Try it. That's the greatest thing that I could ever say is there's a big difference between desire and fulfillment. And the gap is the action that we take. So we're just restructuring. We did a whole bunch of things, but we literally are trying to open our arms as wide as possible, open our wings and allow everybody to come in and experience it risk-free. Go try the free energy intro that's at vibravision.com. And after just that one little session where I got through 3 little videos, give you a little bit of history and background, then teach you your first exercise and then run you through your first exercise. And as you can use that one even as a daily power primer. Like I said, I've had the most incredible energy workers that have decades of experience and so many other systems. They try this one exercise and just go, what? I don't know what to do with myself now. Well, I guess the next step is to level up. And there'll be more information on the website on how to do that. We're developing a whole different structure in the background that will be launched this coming year to assist people at any level be able to get involved. But right now, we do have access to that free energy intro, a couple of online programs if you want to just dip your toe into the pool. Or if you're ready, the best way absolutely is full immersion. Register for one of the events. Check out the calendar page and go get on the list for an upcoming event. And I can't wait to see you.
Awesome. As our conversation comes to the end, reflecting on your achievements, Which milestones do you find most fulfilling, and what lessons have they imparted?
Wow. The most fulfilling. Personally, for me, it's seeing the shift in people. And I have 10 billion examples of that. But for me, the first time I literally started unlocking this in my first blind student, and he'd been blind for 20 years, prosthetic eyeballs, blind tiger Mike Armstrong. And he was able to find his cane, his walking cane. And then next thing was going through the forest and freaking, I called the poles that we're using there bad guys, because he's a master in other martial arts. And one of them is a sword work art. He's going through with a sword, just literally watching his shift and his transfer was huge. That, yeah, I mean, so many of the blind folks that I've worked with have undergone this literally life-shifting breakdown and then breakthrough of who they really are. And to just be there in that moment with them as they set themselves free. That's gotta hands down be the most fulfilling thing ever. I promised on my blood I would do it, and having it come to fruition and literally having it happen before me, that's gotta be the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done. And we're just getting started, really. But every time we level up somebody, I mean, we're all going to have challenges, because those challenges are what create our growth. Our biggest challenges will create the biggest strengths in us, and they'll become our strengths. Literally, they don't show up for no reason. They show up for the reason. Tony Robbins has an amazing saying that sometimes the obstacle is the path. And that is absolutely true. If we can do it in a state of grace, where we also have the tenacity and the fortitude to face it head on as many times as possible, as many times as is needed, that grace will show up. And when it shows up, all those muscles we built from facing those things will absolutely carry us. That's the fulfillment part of it, really. Taking super stressed out, high intensity people and turning them back into kids, letting them play again. Having people that are struggling with physical issues make a whole new body out of themselves by generating the electricity and letting their body heal themselves. The list could just go on and on and on. How far do you really want me to go with this, Scott? Because I love what I do, because I get to give. And when I give and I get to watch what others do with this, it's kind of like doing a good deed. I heard it put once by somebody really funny, that doing good deeds is like peeing your own pants. Okay. Everybody can see what you did, but only you get the warm, fuzzy feeling. I love helping people. And I just can't wait to share this with everybody. It isn't for everybody, but you never know till you try. And if it's calling to you, I got something for you. Can't wait to share.
Thank you, Mas Mike. As we close this inspiring episode of Explorations of Brilliances, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mas Mike for sharing his journey with us. His story from the streets of Huntsville, Utah, to the royal training grounds of Indonesia is a vivid testament to the boundless potential within each one of us. Mas Mike's dedication to Vibravision not only highlights the fusion of ancient wisdom with modern practice, but also reminds us of the transformative power of passion and perseverance. Thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this remarkable exploration. Until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep embracing your own brilliance. Thank you, Mas Mike.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. Thank you, Scott.